Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video we'll be making this beautiful shirt dress, shirt top. So the first thing I'm going to be doing is to mark a straight line to serve as our starting point, and then the next thing you're going to be doing after that is to mark our neckline. So these bodies, we are going to be marking our back bodies first, and then we're going to be using it to mark the front one. So for the width of my neckline, I am marking 3 inches, and then for the depth, I am marking 1 inch. You can do 1.5 inches if you want to, it's also fine, but for this tutorial, I use 1.1 inch. And then once I am done with that, I'm going to go ahead and insert my shoulder measurement divided by 2. I'll make a point there. And then from that point, I'm going to go ahead and mark the length of my sleeve. And this depends on how long you want your sleeve to be or how short you want your sleeve to be. So this is what we have. Then we are going to leave it and then come back to the it afterwards. So I'm going to go ahead and mark my bust point. Remember, when you look at the style, you see that the style is not fitted. So that's why I am using 11 inches for my bust point, and then 17 inches for my waistline, and then the length of my top. I'm going to also add 2 inches from that length of my top. I'm going to show you guys the reason why we added 2 inches as we go on with the tutorial. So I'll go ahead and connect these points, and then go ahead to label this point, bust point, waist, and then the hem. So once we are done with that, from that, I'm going to also extend this starting point so that what we are doing will be more visible. Remember, we already inserted our sleeve at that point. So from that point, I'm going down by 2 inches, and then I'll go ahead and connect it to my neckline. So guys, once we are done with that, the next thing we are going to be doing is to insert our bust measurement divided by 2, and then I'm adding 1.5 inches stitching allowance to it. And then for my waistline divided by 4. Did I say 2? By 4. And then 1.5 inches stitching allowance. And then at this point, we are adding our hip measurement divided by 4, because this style, it's extended almost to the hip line, divided by 4 plus 1.5 inches stitching allowance. And then the next thing we are going to be doing is to connect this line, these points. If you don't have your curve, please do well to use your hand to connect all these points. It doesn't really matter if you don't have your curve. Just make sure that you are connecting in the right manner. So I'll connect to my hip, and then my bust to my waist, to my waistline. So guys, once we are done with that, we are going to all connect this point. I will extend this hip line to meet that point that we just marked so that it's more visible. Then I'll connect this from the hip. I'll curve it. So this is the reason why we added that extra 2 inches, so that we'll be able to curve from the length of the top. And then for the armhole, I'm going to be attaching my armhole divided by 2. So this armhole is not going to be a fitted armhole, right? You're going to be adding extra 1.5 to 2 inches to yours if you want yours not to be fitted, just like mine. And then I'm going to extend this chest line or the bust point to meet that point. And then from there, I'm going to go ahead and curve in my armhole. And then if you look at the armhole, you can see that the armhole is quite big. It's not like it's a fitted armhole. So that's why I am going to be connecting this way. So go ahead and connect yours this way. And then you connect your sleeve opening. And that's basically all for the back bodies of this style. So you're going to go ahead and cut this out. If you haven't subscribed up to this moment, please do wait to hit on the subscribe button, join the family. And to my old subscribers, I say thank you very much for all your support so far. I really appreciate it. Then we're going to go ahead and mark out the front bodies. So for my front bodies, I've already placed the back bodies or the back pattern to another fabric, and I added 2 inches stitching allowance for my button. So I'm using 2 inches. If you use less than 2 inches for your buttons, please do it and to use that. But for me, I usually use 2.5 inches. So then from the hem part of this pattern, I'm going to be extending this by some inches if you look at the style. So from there, from the end point of the back bodies, I'm going to go ahead and make a point there, and then from there I'm going to go down by 7 inches. Please, if you are in a shorter side and you feel that this 7 inches will be too much for you, do well to reduce it to about 5 inches, or you can just measure yourself and know how much you want. And then I'll go ahead and extend the button or the back bodice line, and then from there, so that I'll know where my button allowance stop. From there, I'm going in by 1.5 inches. So from that 1.5 inches, I'll go ahead and connect all the way to the waistline. So I'm just making a point to trace out the waistline where the I'm going to be connecting to. So I'll go ahead and connect all the way from the 7 inches that we marked to the waistline. So guys, once we are done with that, I'm going to also from that point and then connect to the other side, to the seam side of the back bodice or the back pattern, just like you see me do. You can use your cuff to connect this if you want it to have that, curvy effect, but I just use a straight line to connect mine. And then from the for the front neckline, I'm going to go ahead and extend the starting point so that we'll know what we are taking out. So I'll place my ruler and I'll trace out the starting point. And then at that point, from there, I'm going down by 8 inches. If you want yours to be more, visible, you can go down more. But for me, I am doing 8 inches. So there's two ways of connecting this. The first is to connect with a straight line, which I'm going to be doing now. And then the second, I'm going to explain that later. So I traced out my front neck width, and then from there, I'm going to go ahead and connect this point to meet the center back, just like you see me, and then I'll connect the straight point this way. The reason why I'm doing this is that I don't want to struggle while attaching my or folding in my button allowance. But if you don't want, you can just remove this pattern. This side, I just that's one that we just connected, and then connect your line all the way straight. But once you do this, before you cut this out, please do well to fold in your button allowance before cutting out this neckline, and also for the other one that came out from the hem, so that you don't struggle with the button area. Because if you cut it now and then when you want to fold in your button, you're going to have some allowance at that point that doesn't match up to the button. I don't know if you understand, but please do well to cut out, to fold in your button before cutting out the neckline and the neck width. The neckline, especially the front neck depth. So this is for the back, and then the other one is for the front. So this is what you have for this part, for this tutorial. I hope you find value in this video, and I hope I explained everything needed to be explained. Do well to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Give me a thumbs up, share my videos to family and friends, and I will see you in my next video. So this is what I was trying to explain. You fold this in before you trace out. You can see that we have some allowance there before you trace out your neckline, and also from the one coming from the hem. And I will see you in my next video. Thank you so much for watching.